Hello, this is an assessment of a Steinway Model B. There's the piano stool with it, and it's a very wonderful piano. It has a lot of marquetry in it, as we can see. I'm just going to look at the case more than we do normally on most of these videos because it's just so superb, really. As you can see the marquetry there, and looking at the side of it, we have marquetry there too. To me, this is one of the most tasteful pianos I've seen in terms of marquetry, so really desirable instrument. Made in 1888, and which was a very good year for Steinway Model B. We've fully restored one recently to great effect. That's a slightly later one in 1896, but this is an excellent age for Steinway. And look at these legs here, they're very, very pretty. And there's an extra on the top, extra curly bits there on the top. That doesn't sound very technical saying curly bits, but I think you can see what I mean. There's just one problem on the top of the case there, as you can see. That could only be solved by fully repolishing the piano, but the piano is generally very good and faded evenly all throughout, so not really worth doing that. And there's the name Steinway and Son there. I think this name's actually a transfer, not boxwood inlay, so that would need changing if it was repolished. Now, the keys are in perfect condition, and they're one-piece ivory. This has been restored by Steinway. We're going to find out when and what was done then. But there's one-piece ivory here, so that would have been a replacement when it went into Steinway's. There's the original music stand, which you'd expect on the piano, and you can see Steinway and Sons written on the music stand there too. It's at that period of time. It's American and Hamburg Steinways were really the same piano, because the Hamburg factory had only just starting up at that point. As well as the serial number, you can also date the Steinway by looking at the date there. You see 1888, not that clear always on the frame, but 1888, clear date there. That was on the back of the frame, by the way, at that point there. So seeing when this was restored, you can see they haven't actually painted over as they would normally do over the lettering with black there, but that is quite common. Here the strings are extremely rusty. Apparently it's been stored, and clearly been stored apparently professionally, but the strings are amazingly rusty and the action was very stiff, which has been here now for a couple of years, so it's dried out a lot. See the rust here on the tuning pins too. Ideally to restrung, but and the pitch is incredibly flat. This is an A here, and if you've got anything to show the pitch of that, that's almost a semitone flat. It's been left flat, and there's been a bit of fear about pitch raising this piano. The strings are a wonderful tone. Just as they should be for a restored Steinway, and no patch there at all, so the down bearing is excellent. The tone of the hammers is weak round there. It's just been played, and I think they need refacing rather than replacing. The sharp keys here have got pitted marks on them, slight pitted, or rather the polish has been knocked off them, so that could be improved, but it's not too bad. I can see from the hammers here there's been sort of wear. Indicates to me the piano was restored sort of 30-40 years ago, though it depends how much it was played obviously. The hinges are actually quite tight, and when it was put into storage they would have tightened up a lot. There's a few that are a little bit tighter, but generally the hinges here are reasonably correct. Now the other wearing point here is the knuckle here, and that really could do with replacing, because also the hammer's sitting a bit too far down here. When the knuckle's replaced, it'll come up to there, which is about where it should be, and then the blow distance will be correct between the hammer and the string. These are replacement Steinway hammers. You can tell that Steinway's been working on it, because the original would have been yellow, not maroon there. And generally the hammers have done, obviously the job's done really well. The hammers are just needing refacing. I don't think we need to replace those. See a lot of mildew here on the hammer shanks here, but it has dried out reasonably well, and very fortunately come back to normal. Now, regulation on the springs, you can see they should, after I release it, after release of the back check, whoops, they should go upwards, which that one does, but they don't all do that one. So there's a variety in the springs, and they need just evening up again. I don't think we need to replace the springs, just to regulate them correctly, and we'll have a look at the fine regulation on the piano too. There's a piece here of missing, as you can see on the piano. That's something that so commonly happens on these Steinways, and there's some wear here. It would be great to repolish the piano, though, as I say, the polish is even throughout, so it could just be repaired and made good. There's the other side with a bit in place that it was missing on the other side. So there's a bit of a fear of pitch raising. I just want to show that if you lubricate this friction point here, which is the main problem, when you break a string, when you turn it upwards, then the tension here, it doesn't pull through properly, and therefore it breaks at that point. But if you lubricate along here, gently lubricate, obviously you don't want to get lubricant everywhere, you have to lubricate under here as well on the pressure bar, and lubricate here, and then you will 99 times out of 100 you won't get a string breaking, even though they're so rusty. I can assure you of that from experience. And the main problem is obviously breaking a bass string. If you break a bass string, you've got a real problem, because they're very costly and it's very hard to match the broken bass string. You can try and splice them, but that doesn't always work. So that's obviously a concern. There is a concern that strings might break, but even though this is nearly a semitone flat, which is an amazing amount, you can probably pitch raise 99 out of 100 times that you won't get a broken string. If these were original strings, it might be different, but these are restored strings that are restored, and we'll have to write Steinway and find out when it was done, but it has been fully restored, so they're not the original strings, and these strings shouldn't break. So that's 1888 Steinway Model B with wonderful marquetry and just a very, very good tone, restored sometime by Steinway, so about 30-40 years ago, but got very rusty in store. It needs regulation, needs new rollers, and some other things which we're bound to encounter along the way too, some casework to repair, but such an extraordinarily good piano. Our tone round here is varied, but very, very good, just needs refacing of them. Thank you for listening.